ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ अज्ञानातिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाखय चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप गदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्त काञ्चन गौरङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताक स्वामिनित नामने नमः आचार्य पदाय निताय कृपा प्रदायने गौरकथा दामदाय नगर ग्रामता। Okay, great. Hare Krishna, everybody. Dandavad Pranam. Uh, Thank you so much for joining our regular weekly Bhagavatam session. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity as well to serve all of you through Srimad Bhagavatam. Generally, conditioned souls like me, I'm stuck in this loop of this grind of material world, right? Very, very held up with all the responsibilities and all the fulfilling all the material desires and all of that. But when we get opportunities to serve Vaishnavas in forums like these, that is when people like me are forced to think about Krishna, forced to reflect upon the reality of this material world, and in while discharging service of speaking Bhagavatam, discussing Bhagavatam in the assembly of Vaishnavas like this, that is when it sort of sinks deeply into the contaminated heart of souls like me as well. So this is a very, very purifying opportunity, purificatory opportunity that souls like me get. So thanks a lot for overlooking all my anarthas and continuing to give me opportunities to serve all of you. Right. So, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, it is mentioned, Krishna Tulya Bhagavata Vibhu Sarvashraya Prati Shloke Prati Akshare Nana Arthakai, right? Which means Krishna Tulya Bhagavat. Krishna is identical or non-different from Srimad Bhagavatam. And it is Vibhu, it is all pervading. It is Sarvashraya, it is the supreme ultimate shelter, source of everything. Prati Shloke Prati Akshare Nana Arthakai. Every syllable, every word, every shloka is filled with so many nectarian rasas, so many nectarian meanings, which understanding which in the mood of Vaishnava, in the mood of Vaishnava acharyas, if we understand these imports, these meanings of all these shlokas and every letter of Bhagavatam, our heart fills or gets overwhelmed with love for Krishna. Right. This is the glory of Bhagavatam that we see in Chaitanya Charitamrit. But a very important aspect to note is Krishna Tulya Bhagavat. Krishna is non-different from Shrimad Bhagavatam. Shrimad Bhagavatam is equivalent to Krishna himself, right? And as devotees, why Bhagavatam is so relevant to us is that as practicing sadhakas, we don't commit some of these gross sins, right? Like breaking of regulative principles, like intoxication, meat eating, gambling, illicit sex. Somehow, by the mercy of Vaishnavas, by the mercy of Sri Guru, by the mercy of Krishna, we have enough understanding, or we have cultured our life, we have tuned our life in a way that we generally don't fall for such gross sins which externally appear very sinful. We don't do that, but we still struggle with some of the subtle sinful activities and tendencies that we still continue to carry, right? And these subtle sins, they are committed by the subtle body, which consists of mind, intelligence, and false ego, right? Gross body consists of the Panchabhutas, and subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, false ego. And we need to control or regulate each one of these three in order for us to overcome these tendencies to commit subtle aparadhas or subtle sins, right? And how can we control the mind? We can control the mind by keeping it constantly engaged in chanting the holy names of the Lord, right? There was once a boy who was walking up to the school, and he found a copper coin fallen down. And he picks up the coin and he starts rubbing it, and a genie comes out. And the genie says, "Okay, what do you want?" He says, "I want this, I want that." He expresses his desires. Finally, the genie says, "You have to keep asking, and before I fulfill, you should ask the next wish. And if you don't keep asking, I will kill you." Right? Now the boy is under tremendous pressure. Whatever he asks, the genie is fulfilling it. Right? So finally, the boy intelligently thinks. He tells the genie that, "See, see this tree, right? You have to go to the top of the tree, and when you reach the top, you have to come down again, and when you reach the bottom, you should go up again, and you keep doing this until I give you the next instruction." Right? In this way, the genie was engaged, genie was busy, and the boy was also peaceful, he was happy as well. Right? So similar is the case with our mind. If we don't keep a check on our mind, if we don't keep it engaged constantly, the mind will kill us. Right? In the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells that an uncontrolled mind is our greatest enemy. Right? So it's very dangerous. We have to constantly keep it engaged. But just like the genie was going up and down the tree, we need to engage our mind by going up and down our beads, right? So we start from the Krishna bead, go all the way chanting the mantra till the end, and then turn the bead and go down all the way back, right? And constantly throughout the day, if we are able to somehow engage our mind in the transcendental sound vibration of the Maha Mantra, then the mind is taken care of. Then you have intelligence, and I'll come to intelligence in a bit. But the third aspect is false ego, controlling false ego, right? And the only way to regulate our false ego, to control our false ego, is to serve in the association of Vaishnavas, right? And not just serve alone, because if we render service by ourselves, which is going to be the topic of today's discussion as well, but when we serve by ourselves, we try to find our comfort zones, and we serve within that comfort zone, and we justify all our anarthas and everything, and we are not able to overcome our false ego, right? So if we really need to overcome our false ego, we should serve in an assembly of Vaishnavas and a group of Vaishnavas, and nothing breaks our false ego as rendering devotional service in the assembly of Vaishnavas. Right now, it is the book distribution marathon month, so we have a real taste of this. We can realize how going out on the streets to the temples with devotees and trying to distribute the books, we see how that shatters any tinge of false ego that we all might have, right? So false ego is taken care by serving in the association of Vaishnavas. Now, the second aspect which we discussed was mind and false ego is taken care of. What is left is the intelligence. Now, how we tame the intelligence, how we control the intelligence is, right now in the conditioned state, the intelligence is corrupted. And because it is corrupted, it is a servant of the mind. Our intelligence is the servant of mind. The mind keeps saying, I want this, I want that. And the intelligence works very hard to get that. Our Vedantas, the Vedanta Sutra, it begins with Atato Brahma Jigyasa, that now that you have a human form of life, inquire about the Lord. But our corrupted intelligence, it always does Atato Indriya Tripti Jigyasa. Our intelligence is always tuned and it is always working to see how can I enjoy my senses? What arrangements can I make? What facilities can I have so that I can enjoy my senses very nicely, right? Constantly we are absorbed in only this thought, right? This is what an unregulated intelligence can do. Now the danger is, like, China, they built this Great Wall of China, right, to protect themselves from the armies of Mongolia and other invaders who were trying to come inside China. This huge, magnificent wall they built. It is so big that it's the only thing that can be seen from the space as well. And even today, it exists, right, unharmed. It's untouched, and that wall is there. But still, China got invaded, more than three times in the past, few decades by Mongolian invaders and other invaders as well. China kept getting invaded, but nothing happened to the wall. No damage to the wall as such. Like when our temples got invaded in India, you see that whole temple structure got desecrated, it got taken off and all that, right? Like in Hampi and in Vrindavan and so many other places. But in China, the wall is still intact. Not even a brick has moved. But China got invaded multiple times. How did this happen? Because the invaders, they bribed the security guards and they walked in through the gate, right? They got a red carpet welcome because they bribed the security guards. Similarly, Maya bribes our intelligence and she enters and sits in our heart if our intelligence is corrupted. That is why we need to sharpen our intelligence. And the only way to do that is by studying and hearing scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So discussion of these scriptures, discussion of the principles of life from these scriptures, they sharpen our intelligence and they ensure that we are able to restrict entry of Maya into our heart. Right. So that is why it is very important for us to repeatedly hear Srimad Bhagavatam every opportunity that we get. And aligned with this mood, Vidura also, when he got the opportunity in his life, he's been hearing the glorious narration of Srimad Bhagavatam from Maitreya Muni. Right? Today we'll be discussing from the 14th chapter of the fourth canto, which is titled The Story of King Vena. Right? But until now, we've seen that in the fourth canto, Vidura heard from Maitreya Muni the narration of the pastime of Shiva, Daksha, and Sati, and after that pastime, he heard the lineage of Uttanapad, right, the son of Swayambhu Manu. And in that lineage, Maitreya Muni glorified the life and pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj, how he attained perfection, right? And hearing these glories, Vidura got great joy, right? He experienced great happiness and great spiritual joy. And at the end of this episode of Dhruva Maharaj, Maitreya Muni told Vidura that many generations after Dhruva Maharaj, in the assembly sacrifice of Prachetas, Narada Muni came there. Narada Muni, who guided Dhruva Maharaj, who was the guru of Dhruva Maharaj, he came to the assembly of Prachetas and he started glorifying Dhruva Maharaj in the assembly of Prachetas. Right? So then Vidura asked the question that who are these Prachetas and why is it that Narada Muni is glorifying them, after glorifying Dhruva Maharaj in their assembly after so long? Right? And then Maitreya Muni said that these Prachetas are actually descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. They come in the same lineage. And then Maitreya Muni starts explaining the lineage of Dhruva Maharaj. He mentions how Dhruva Maharaj had his eldest son by the name Utkala. Now, Utkala was a completely dedicated, pure devotee of the Lord, right? He was fully renounced. He had no political inclination, no inclination to administer, to rule, to punish, nothing like that. Sit on a throne, enjoy royal luxuries of Kshatriya life. None of those desires or inclination he had. He wanted to completely dedicate himself for service to the Supreme Lord. So he never accepted the kingdom. And in that condition, his next son, Dhruva Maharaj's next son, Vatsara accepted the throne and he, entered family life. He had several children. And in his lineage, as we keep going down, Maitreya Muni explained that there was a very, very great king who appeared in the lineage of Vatsara by the name Anga Maharaj. Right? Anga Maharaj was a very righteous king, very pure devotee of the Lord, excellent ruler. But the only problem in Anga Maharaj's life, Maitreya Muni explains, is that Anga Maharaj, although being so good, he had a bad son by the name Vena. And this son was so bad that he was eventually cursed by the Brahmanas to die. And Vidura became inquisitive and he asked that, oh, how's this possible? How come a good devotee and a good king got such a cruel son? And what did he do? What did this son do? That he was cursed by the compassionate, merciful Brahmanas to die. What happened? And we saw in the 13th chapter how Maitreya Muni elaborates on the life of Anga Maharaj, right? He mentions how Anga Maharaj used to perform sacrifices. Once he performed sacrifice and none of the devatas came, and the sages explained that is because, he doesn't have any enough sukriti to have a son. And they advise that, it is better to take shelter of Narayan, of Vishnu. So Anga Maharaj does another wonderful sacrifice to please Sri Hari, and then the Lord is pleased by Anga Maharaj's sacrifice, and from the yajna, a personality comes out by the name Yajna Purusha. This Yajna Purusha comes out, and he comes out with a pot of sweet milk, paisam. He gives it to Anga Maharaj. Anga Maharaj gives it to his wife, Sunita, and his wife consumes it, and they have a son, and this son was named Vena, right? Now Anga Maharaj's wife was the daughter of Mrityu, right? So this boy Vena, the son of Anga Maharaj, he did not inherit the qualities of his father. He inherited the qualities of his maternal grandfather. So he was very, very cruel right from childhood. When he would play with his friends, he would push them, he would kill them, he would harm them, he would harm innocent animals, right? He exhibited extreme cruelty right from a very tender age. And Anga Maharaj tried a lot to change his son, tried a lot to inculcate values and culture into Vena, but nothing worked. Vena kept growing up in age, and as he kept growing up, his cruel atrocities increased more and more. And Anga Maharaj decided that there's not a lot to be done. There's nothing I can do. It's outside of my control. I've tried everything, And Anga Maharaj was sitting and contemplating that rather than having son like this, it's better not to have any son at all, right? Putra means putrayate iti putra. That soul or that living entity, that personality who saves his parents from going into the hellish planet called Pu, right? So from going there, he actually saves them from this hellish condition of life, by being serving them as long as they are alive, and after their departure as well, doing shraddha and all of that. So that's the responsibility of a son, right? That is why they are called putra, right? But in this case, Vena was so cruel. Having a bad son like Vena, it actually destroys all the good fortune, all the name, fame, and everything that the father would have accumulated in his entire lifetime. All of that gets destroyed by having a son like that. So Anga Maharaj was thinking, rather than having a cruel son like this, it's better not to have any son at all. But then he thought that, oh, okay, maybe rather than having a good son, it's better to have a bad son. Because if we have a good son, we get attached to household life, we get attached to family life, right? And we don't develop attraction towards the Lord. We're not able to serve the Lord because of these attachments. They become a roadblock in our path to bhakti. So then Anga Maharaj thought, it's better that I had a very cruel son. Now I'm completely detached and disgusted with family life. I can renounce everything. I can just go and dedicate myself, surrender myself fully to the devotion of the Lord. Right. So in this way, Anga Maharaj thought like this, and he started walking out of the uh, kingdom, right? So this is how, like, we generally don't like difficulties, right? We find it extremely difficult, and it's very scary and fearful for us to face difficulties and reversals in life. But we see the central theme across all the devotees of the Lord in all the Puranas and especially Bhagavatam as well, that they welcome these reversals, they welcome these difficulties as an opportunity to intensify their love and their surrender towards Krishna. Right? We see this with Kunti Maharani as well. She lists down all the difficulties that she faced in her life. She, her children, her husband, her family, all the difficulties she lists, and then she says, "Vipatah shantutah shashvat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yasyat na punar bhava darshanam." So she's saying that Vipada Shantuda Shashwat, please eternally, constantly keep giving me difficulties. Because in these difficulties, not just I see you literally, personally, face to face, Kunti Maharani wanted association of the Lord, but not just that, but in those difficulties, these pure devotees, they are fully absorbed in Krishna and they feel the presence of Krishna in their life. And feeling the presence of Krishna and having his darshan, we don't have to take birth in this material world ever again, right? So Kunti Maharani welcomed that. Now, this narration of Anga and Vena and all of this is being heard by Vidura, and Vidura himself was kicked out of his kingdom. Right? Duryodhan insulted him and thrashed him out of the kingdom. Now, if it was any of us, we would have been offended. Hey, whole life I gave to this throne, to this kingdom, and this is the only thing I know to do. I've done this all my life. How can I do anything else? No, we would have become so miserable. But in an instant, Vidura took this as an opportunity to, not be obligated to, his political duties towards the throne of Hastinapur. He left everything, just came to the forest, and took this as a wonderful opportunity to sit with the sages and hear Harikatha. Right? And we see this the same with Yudhishthir Maharaj. He took Vanavas as an opportunity to increase his absorption towards the Lord. Lord Ramachandra, next day he was going to be throned as the king. He was exiled into the forest, and he tells, "This is my true, desire in my heart, that I wanted to sit at the feet of the sages in the forest and hear from them and learn spiritual knowledge from them. But as a king, I would not have been able to do that. So this is how destiny fulfilled my desire." Right. So Lord Ram also accepted it that way. And this discussion of Anga and Vena is heard by Vidura from Maitreya Muni, but the discussion of Vidura and Maitreya Muni is heard by Parikshit Maharaj from Sukadev Goswami. And Parikshit Maharaj also faced a very devastating reversal in his life. He was cursed to die in 7 days when he was hearing this narration. But Parikshit Maharaj as well at once renounced the kingdom and accepted this reversal as an opportunity to intensify, to hear more about the Lord, to intensify his attraction towards the Lord. And he walked to the banks of Ganga to hear from Sukadeva Goswami, right? So, in this way, a central theme we see, all the devotees, whenever they get difficulties, they use it as an opportunity to reject the material world, to renounce the material world, and increase their absorption towards the Lord, right? And in that theme, continuing that theme, Anga Maharaj as well, when he saw how cruel and how ill cultured, ill mannered his son was, Vena was, Anga Maharaj gave up his kingdom and walked to the forest. And the sages run behind him, they try to find him, right? And that ends the 13th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we come to the 14th chapter, which is of our discussion today. This chapter is titled The Story of King Vena. It has 46 shlokas. So the first six shlokas talk about Vena's atrocities once he was throned as the king. Then from 7th to 22nd chapter, we see how the sages they approach Vena and they try to pacify him and they try to give him good advice. Then from 23rd to 28th shloka, we see Vena's arrogant reply to the sages. From 29th to 35th shloka, we see how the sages they kill Vena, by the power of their mantras. And from 36 to 46, last 11 shlokas, we see how the sages they churn Vena's thighs and they give birth to a personality by the name Bahuka, right? So who is Bahuka? What happens? All of that we'll discuss right now. Right? So this is how the 46 verses of the 14th chapter they flow, right? It begins with the sages going out and searching for Anga Maharaj, and all the citizens go out as well, but none of them are able to find Anga Maharaj, and it's like he's just disappeared into thin air. Now they come back, and the sages all they assembled, and they're all contemplating that within a kingdom, we need a king, we need a ruler to maintain law and order. We need a government, well functioning government, because without the ruler, then all these thieves and rogues they will plunder all the citizens, right? And they will create havoc, and adharma will rise. So we need some king. Now, who can be the king? The obvious natural choice was continuing the lineage of Anga Maharaj, his son Vena, right? So the sages had their reservations, but they thought, fine, whatever said and done, the family, the lineage of Anga Maharaj is glorious. So let's give it a chance. Let's see how it goes, right? And then Vena was made the king. His mother Sunita, her consent was taken, and Vena was enthroned as the king, right? It was like a circumstantial crisis that they had to solve for, right? This is similar to, like, if you have to relate to this, in 2004 elections, when the UPA won, Congress government won the election, Manmohan Singh was made the prime minister, and he's often termed as the accidental prime minister because he was never meant to be the prime minister. It is just that Congress won the election in that term, and they had to put somebody in the front. And the leadership at that time, either they were not Indian or of Indian origin, that was not possible for them to rule. And at the other hand, their children, their dynasty, they were too young to become prime minister at that time, too young, too immature, still young, but at that time very young, right? So then they wanted to find somebody who's loyal, whom they can use as an instrument to do whatever they want. And then Manmohan Singh was chosen as the accidental prime minister. So this was the arrangement that the sages also had to do here. There was a crisis, there was nobody to take charge, and somebody had to do that. So they put Vena on the throne and they enthroned him as the king. Now, one good thing that happened by Vena becoming the king was that all the thieves and rogues they ran away. They didn't stay there because they were scared that this king is so cruel. by mistake, if we fall into his hands, he will give us such cruel punishments that we cannot tolerate. So they got scared and they plundered, they ran away, right? The kingdom became free of rogues and criminals. But the bad part was this king itself was worse than a criminal. He was worse than a thief, worse than a rogue, because he was harassing the citizens, right? He was abusing them. Wherever he was traveling, he was creating mayhem, chaos, and he stopped all kinds of ritualistic activities in the kingdom. All religious activities he stopped. No yajnas, no charities, no chanting of mantras, nothing. Everything was came to a standstill. So the sages, they observed all of this, right? And they thought that the people are in danger, and supporting a king like Vena is like feeding milk to a snake, right? We should not do that. And they were very angry. Sages were very frustrated, and they wanted to approach Vena and teach him a lesson. But they thought, let's try to pacify him. Let's try to give a good advice and see what he says. And based on how he reacts and the degree of offenses that he commits, we will take action. So the sages decided that. And Bhagavatam says they covered their anger and frustration in a smiling request, in an external smiling request that they put to Vena. Right. So they went to Vena and they told him that you please hear our good advice with attention. Right. As a king, you're supposed to follow dharma if you don't want to fall down. And they gave all the qualities of a pious king. Right. They said a pious king is one who protects his citizens. And such a king who takes care of his kingdom, his citizens, and all of that, he enjoys royalty in this life. And after giving up this life, he enjoys heavenly pleasures as well for doing his duty as a king, right? And the king is supposed to uphold Varnashrama Dharma in the society. All the eight Varnas, four Varnas and four Ashramas, he's supposed to uphold them. And the king is meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord by his administration of the kingdom, right? And they say that the king, one of his foremost duties is to ensure that the kingdom, all the citizens, they are Krishna conscious. They're able to render devotional service to the Lord. They understand the importance and they are educated. And they are aware of doing all that, and they have the support from the king. That's what you're supposed to do, right? And they say that the Lord is everything, the Lord has given you everything, right? If you stop the sacrifices like this, if you disrespect the devatas by not performing yajnas, not giving them sacrificial oblations, no, it will not give you the desired results and you will suffer, right? So in this way they try to console and convince Vena. But then Vena, he starts speaking and he speaks with a lot of arrogance, a lot of pride. He tells, all of you sages, you've just grown white beards, but you're all inexperienced. You're less experienced than children. You're very immature. Why? Because you fail to realize, I think you didn't study the Shastras. The Shastras, it is mentioned that the king is equivalent to the Supreme Lord. Inside the king's body, Indra, Chandra, Varuna, Vayu, Agni, Kubera, all of these 33 crore Devi Devatas, they reside in the body of the king. The body of the king is the reservoir of all the Devatas and it is not different from the Lord. Don't you know these things? Didn't you study the Shastras? So, all of you, instead of, being unchaste, he calls them as unchaste. Unchaste, like how a wife, if she is not loyal and dedicated to her husband and wants to serve somebody else, that is lack of chastity on her part, right? So he tells them, you're all unchaste. You should serve me. You should glorify me. You should offer yajnas and sacrifices to me. But instead of me, you want to glorify the Lord. What sort of chastity is this? All of you are, you should be ashamed. That's how Veena talks. Sages become so angry, it just hits the roof for them. And you know, Bhagavatam says that Vena was already dead because of his insult to the Supreme Lord. But the sages, just by shouting, kill him, come on, he's a traitor. He doesn't, forget about being on the throne. He doesn't even deserve to kill, it does deserve to live, right? So just by raising their voice, the sages killed Vena, right? You can imagine how much of Brahminical powers these sages had at that time, right? Uh, they had the power to enthrone somebody as the king. They had the power to dethrone somebody as the king, and they had the power to kill that powerful tyrant just by speaking loudly, right? Not even chanting some mantra to kill or something. Just by shouting loudly, their anger and this king is dead, right? So these Brahmanas, they exhibit, they show how how much power they had, but they utilized those powers very responsibly, right? In the name of dharma, in the name of rituals, in the name of their duties and renunciation, tyaga, and all of that, they did not forget their responsibility towards the society, right? They always continued to do that. In the fourth chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is titled The Transcendental Knowledge, Krishna is talking about Karma Yoga to Arjuna. And in the 18th shloka, Krishna tells Arjuna, Karmani akarmaya pashyet, akarmani cha karmaya, sabuddhiman manusheshu, sayukta kritsa karma krit. So he says, Akarmani, karmani akarma yaha pashyet. Pashyet means to see, and karmani means in action. That means while doing an activity, while performing some activity. So karmani means to act while doing the act. And akarmani means inaction. Akarmani means not doing anything, just sitting, not deciding to act. Right? Krishna says, Sa buddhiman manusheshu. That person is intelligent who karmani akarma yah pashyet, who sees inaction in action and action in inaction. That person is intelligent and that person is properly situated in spiritual consciousness. This is what Krishna says, right? Now, this is like a tongue twister and a brain twister as well, mind twister. What is this action in inaction and inaction in action? What does this mean, right? But basically, the first line, karmani akarmaha yah pashyet, that means that a person while acting sees that it is inaction. That means that he's acting, but he sees that he's not bound by karma. There is no reaction to that action. And when is this possible? It is possible when somebody is acting on behalf of the Supreme Lord, right? Just like a soldier, when he acts on behalf of the government, he's glorified and he's awarded. But when the soldier acts on his personal, interest, when he comes home and he picks a personal fight with somebody, then he's punished according to his offense, right? Similarly, when a jiva, he acts to fulfill the will of the Lord, there is no karma associated with it. An intelligent person understands that, right? And that is what Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna. Arjuna said that by fighting this war, I will get so many sins. Krishna is telling Arjuna, no, at times, by doing action, we become free from bondage of karma. And this is that moment where Arjuna, if you fight this war, you will be free. You will do your responsibility and you will not get bound by karma because you are doing it as per my will, right? But the other second line is akarmani cha karmayaha, which means sometimes by not acting, we get bound in karma, right? Without doing anything, we are bound by the reactions of karma. It's like if a patient is giving up their body, they're dying, they're suffering miserably, and the doctor is there, but the doctor refuses to treat the patient. Then the doctor is actually criminally charged. Yeah, it is called like guilty by negligence. The doctor can be taken to court and punished as well, right? Similarly, if a theft is happening, if somebody is killing the other person, and there's a police or a security or army or somebody is there who can stop, but they don't act, then they get karmic reaction for that as well, right? So similarly, we see instances where Krishna tells Yudhishthir Maharaj that you have to lie that Ashwatthama is dead to Dronacharya. Then Dronacharya will believe and he'll give up his weapons and we can kill him. So Yudhishthir Maharaj, he tells loudly that Ashwatthama is dead. But then softly he says the elephant, Kunjarava, right? And then, he thinks that, okay, by not lying, I have protected myself from sinful reaction. But his chariot, which always used to float above the ground because of his pious nature, because of his dharmic nature, that chariot fell down, indicating fall down of Yudhishthir Maharaj as well. So by not acting, by not lying, Yudhishthir Maharaj got bound by the action of karma, right? Similarly, Krishna tells Arjuna, by not fighting this war, you will get lot more sinful reactions. Every time Duryodhan harasses the citizens, he criticizes somebody, he abuses them, he gives them pain, and all the pain that each of the citizens experience, Arjuna, you will get a share of that pain if you don't do your duty of fighting this war, right? So similarly, we see that in our history of Sanatan Dharma as well, the sages, they play a very important role. For example, the Naga sadhus in 1664, when the Aurangzeb and the Mughals they first attacked Kashi, these Naga sadhus who have renounced the world, nothing to do with the world, they're somewhere in the mountains. They all came together in huge number and they defeated the Mughal army. Now, they don't get army training. They just go to the mountains and do austerities. Very skinny people, but they defeated the Mughal army. And not just once, multiple times they have done that. Whenever required, they have come and they have fought wars against invaders. In 1757, these Naga sadhus, they defended Haridwar and Gokul Dham in Vrindavan as well from Abdali's Afghan army. When the Afghans tried to invade Gokul and Haridwar, these Naga sadhus again came and protected in 1757. These are not from Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, right? These are 100, 200 years back. It's documented proof of how these sadhus, these sages, these brahmanas sometimes, although they've renounced the world, they interfere with the dealings of the world to ensure that peace and order is maintained in the society, right? Even in the life of Prabhupada, traditionally sannyasis are not advised to cross the ocean and go to the west, because it is said that if you go to the west, you get bound by karma and you get contaminated by material desires and you fall down. So sannyasis always were advised to stay within the country and not cross the ocean. But Prabhupada did that. He crossed the ocean because he felt that by crossing over the ocean and going to the west and preaching and following the orders of his guru, he can relieve himself from bondage. But by not doing that, by staying where he is in Vrindavan, he might actually get bound by this material world, right? So he went. Prabhupada went, and forget him falling down. He converted the most hellish places into Vaikunta by creating a vibrant atmosphere of sadhu sangha devotees there, right? So these sadhus like this, they're compared to a cow, right? Sometimes we look at a cow and we think, hey, the cow is not doing much. It's just sitting, it's just moving its mouth. Whole day, nothing the cow is doing. Just, moving its mouth. And when the cow moves the mouth, what is it doing? It is churning the grass inside the mouth, right? It's biting, and churning, constantly churning the grass, and it's moving his mouth. And by doing this, the cow is able to give something that is the most beautiful thing in the world. The cow is able to give something that nourishes the entire world, which is milk, right? So sadhus, Vaishnavas like this, they're compared to the cow. We might think, hey, they're wearing saffron robes, they're just sitting in a place, they're not doing anything, they're so lazy, they can do so many other things in life. Why are they not doing anything? But they just sit in a place and they churn the Vedas, they churn the Shastras. And after all that churning, when they move their mouth and Harikatha comes out of their mouth, that Harikatha has the potency to nourish the entire world, right? Spiritually nourish everybody and give satisfaction to everybody. That is why the sadhus are compared to the cows, right? So now coming back to the pastime, to this chapter, the sadhus, they kill Vena, and we are back to square one. No king, right? We don't have a king, and all the sadhus, they were sitting in their ashram and they see a dust storm. And they realize that dust storm is because of the rapid movement of the thieves. They're constantly moving from one place to other, committing crimes, and the dust is coming up, and dust storm is created by that. They decide we have to do something. And they think that however Vena was, the dynasty, the lineage of Dhruva Maharaj, all the way up to Anga Maharaj is glorious. The semen in that dynasty is very, very potent, very powerful, and they are born to rule, to administer. So we should, you know, get continue the lineage of Vena. But Vena is dead. What do we do? Then they, realize that Vena's body was not disposed of. Vena's body was preserved by his mother Sunita by in some special oils. So the sages go to Sunita, they ask for the body, and Sunita gives the body, and the sages take the body. And now Vena's body is made up of two aspects. One that he got from his father, Anga Maharaj, and one that he got from his mother, Sunita. So the sages first separated out the contaminated part of Vena's body that he inherited from his mother. So they took the thighs and they started churning these thighs. And by churning the thighs, uh, a personality came out, a dwarf, very ugly looking dwarf came out by the name Bahuka. Now, Bahuka was the father of the Nishadharis or the Nishadas or Naishadas, right? Now, these are the tribal people who have no social etiquette, who break all regulative principles, who hunt, who kill to eat. Such people are not fit to live in the society. So they live in mountains or in deep forest, right? So Bahuka was the father, was the leader of all of them. So the sages separated out this contaminated part and sent him away. And now they had the good part, which was inherited by pure devotee, Anga Maharaj. So they took the arms of Veena and they started churning the arms. And by churning the arms, two personalities came out. One was Prithu Maharaj and the other was Archi. And all the sages they realized that this personality, Prithu Maharaj, is non-different from Mahavishnu. This Prithu Maharaj is a plenary expansion of the Lord. He is the Shakti Avesh avatar of the Lord. Right? And Archi is the eternal consort of the Lord, Lakshmi Devi. Right? So when Prithu Maharaj and Archi comes out, in the next chapter, we'll see how the appearance and life or glories of Prithu Maharaj is elaborated, right? So this chapter ends with Veena, Veena's churning of thighs and Bahuka coming out, and next chapter we'll see how Prithu Maharaj appears, right? Now this is the chapter, right? And we're almost at time, but I'll probably take about 15-20 minutes more of our time to reflect on this chapter, right? Now this chapter is called the story of King Veena. Now, what lessons can we learn as sadhakas from the life of Veena, right? From the life of this person? What are the things we can learn so that we don't commit the same mistakes and we don't fall down, right? Firstly, Veena was like a reservoir of anarthas. He had so many bad qualities, so many anarthas that he exhibited at different points in his life. Cruelty, lack of compassion, pride, ignorance, so many things he showed, right? Now, the abode of all those anarthas is the mind. All those anarthas rest in the mind. And the mind is extremely unregulated and extremely fickle, very, very difficult to control. Arjuna also says in the Bhagavad Gita. Once Kalidas was asked by the king instantly that, you know, right now you tell me 10 things that are very, very unsteady and fickle, which start from ma, the syllable ma. Kalidas did not even think before the king could complete the question. Kalidas started. He said, Ma mano madupo mego madhyapo markato marut makshito madguno matsyat makara dasha chanchalam. He says, Makara dasha chanchalam. There are 10 things starting with the syllable ma, which are very, very chanchal, very fickle, and we should never come under the influence of these 10 things. And out of the 10 things, the first thing Kalidas says is mano, that our mind. Mind is extremely fickle and it needs regulation. It needs to be regulated, right? Previously as well, I've shared this analogy in our classes, right? Where sometimes we think, why regulate? It's okay. If mind wants to do something naturally, we'll allow it to do, right? Why restrict something which is naturally happening? But the thing is, when we go to the zoo, the in a zoo, what happens is that the animals are caged, they are controlled, and we are freely able to walk around. But when we go in a safari, we are caged in a jeep and the animals freely walk around. Right? In both the cases, there is somebody who's controlled, regulated. If we say, Arey, why regulate? Why close people, confine people or animals like that? Just let it be. Let it be open, no restriction, no regulation. Let it be. Then what happens? We'll become Mahaprasade, go in there for all the animals in the jungle, right? So the regulation is important, it's necessary, it's required, right? But the question is controlling the mind enough for sadhaka bhaktas? In the path of bhakti, just mind control is that enough? Because mind control is something that we talk so much about. In the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks the entire chapter trying to tell Arjuna about dhyana yoga, how to control the mind. And we have so many classes that we hear about mind your mind, right? That's a theme that we have in ISKCON as well, that we hear so many classes about this. And it's important, it's necessary to regulate the mind. But is that sufficient? And the answer is no. For other paths, for Ashtanga Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga, all of those paths, it is enough. Controlling mind is enough. But for Bhakti Yoga, just controlling the mind, regulating the mind is not enough. Right? Once there was a young man, he went to the monastery with a desire of becoming a monk. So he met the head monk and he said, I want to join the monastery as a full-time devotee. The head monk, he said, fine, you can join. One condition. You have to play a chess match with the most elderly person in this monastery. And if you beat him in the chess match, you can join the ashram. So this monk said, fine. This young man said, I'll play. So a chess table was arranged, chess board was arranged, all the pieces were set up. On one side, you had the young man. On the other side, you had this most eldest monk in that monastery. And in the middle, this head monk was standing supervising the game. And just before they started playing the game, the head monk, he pulled out a sword and he said, anybody who loses this game, I will chop their head off. Right. Now the stakes were higher. It was not just about getting into the ashram. It was also about like preserving our life, saving our life. Right. So this young man got under immense stress. He was worried, what happens if I lose? I'll lose my life. He was very, very stressed. In that stress, he played many bad moves. He couldn't play well and he was almost going to lose. But then he closed his eyes and he thought to himself, come on, this is your last chance. You have to protect your life. You can't do this. Focus, right? And with all the focus and attention he could garner, he focused on the game completely and he started making good moves. And the elder monk, he made a blunder as well. And this man got the upper hand. The young man, he got an upper hand and he started dominating so much. He was almost going to end the game. He was going to, finish the game and defeat the elder monk. Just then he looks up at the monk and sees that this elderly monk, he was shivering, he was sweating, he was extremely scared because he could see his death. He could see that he is losing the game. And this young man thought that this elderly person, this sadhu, this monk, has dedicated his entire life for the service of the Lord. Nothing, he has no attachments with this material world. And, see what is the fate he's getting. At the end of his life, he doesn't deserve to die like this, right? He doesn't deserve. It's more than me living. It's important that sadhus like him live. He can add more value to the society. So purely out of compassion, this young man wantedly started playing bad moves. And then he was almost going to get defeated. The elderly monk was going to make the move to do checkmate. And this head monk, he put the sword on the board very hard. And both the all the pieces flew and both the monks they fell down and they were looking at him. What happened? And the head monk said, now you're eligible to join the ashram. You're eligible to join the monastery because you have shown two qualities. You have a strong mind, but along with that, you also have a soft heart. And both of that is necessary to progress in the path of spirituality. Now, this same principle applies in sadhana bhakti as well. It's important to have strong mind, regulated mind, right? It's it's very nice thing to have as well. Imagine one fine day we wake up and no anarthas, no material desires, no contaminations. How wonderful that will be, right? But a strong mind can never bring us happiness. A strong mind can protect us from distress, from miseries, from sufferings that we would have undergone because of our anarthas. So, a strong mind can protect us from our miseries, but it can never give us happiness. What can give us happiness is a soft heart, right? Because if mind is the abode, mind is the house of all the anarthas, then the heart is the house of all those wonderful qualities which act as fertile soil inside which the seed of Bhakti Lata Bija can grow and flourish as a creeper which reaches all the way up to the lotus feet of Krishna in Golok Vrindavan, right? So we need, along with controlling the mind, we need to focus on the heart. Is it going in the right direction or not? Right? Now, Rupa Goswami, he mentions for a sadhaka bhakta how he progresses in the path of bhakti. Adau Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. These are the 9 stages to reach the ultimate goal of Krishna Prema. This is how a sadhaka progresses. But if you think about it, how many of us are linearly growing in this path, right? In the stages, one by one, we are crossing all these stages in a linear manner. How many of us are doing? Barely anybody, right? Each sadhaka's spiritual journey is very, very, different. It's very unique. It's very nuanced, complicated, right? It's never a straight line. It's always circles and knots and all of that, right? We have preliminary faith, Shraddha. Because of that, we associate with Vaishnavas, Sadhu Sangha. Then we do some bhajana kriya, we do some sadhana, but then we fail in that sadhana, we are not consistent. Then we stop associating with devotees. Then we lose the faith. Then again, somewhere we meet devotees again, sadhu sangha. Then we do some bhajana kriya. Then we start working on our anarthas. But anartha nivriti is such a long process and so difficult that we keep losing hope and lose the faith also. And again, so in this way, we keep going in cycles and cycles. It's not one straight line. It's so many times we keep falling down. Jiva Goswami, he mentions Satyam satina vignanam sahasrena tata tapa Vignayutena govinde nrinam bhaktir nivaryate. He says, Satyam shatena vignanam. Vigna means obstacles. And Satya, if somebody is trying to speak the truth, Shata means 100. They will face 100 obstacles if they want to speak the truth. And Sahasrena tata tapaha. If somebody wants to do austerities, right, they will face thousands of obstacles. But somebody, right, Ranam Bhaktir Govinde, if somebody wants to discharge devotional service to Govinda to please the Lord, then Vigna Yutena, they will face 10,000 obstacles in this material world. Right. So Jiva Goswami says that taking the path of sadhana bhakti is not easy. We are going to be faced with so many hurdles, so many obstacles. Right. Srila Prabhupada, he writes in his books and he used to say that practicing Krishna consciousness means waging a war with Maya, openly declaring that Maya, come on, I'm gonna, ideally that's not our mood. We look at Maya Devi as the as the sister of younger sister of Krishna, as the Lord, and we seek shelter at Maya Devi that you please guide me towards Krishna. But by practicing Krishna consciousness, we are going against the wish of the Maya, right? So it's not an easy thing to do in sadhana bhakti. It's very difficult. And again, Jiva Goswami says, "Ahe rivagati premna," which means the path of prema is as crooked as a snake. It's never straight. The path to the ninth stage of bhakti, prema, right? This is because the prema or the love that we are trying to get is for a personality by the name Krishna. And this personality is crooked in every aspect. The way he stands, he never stands straight, right? Nandanandashtakam, it says, त्रिभङ्गदेह सुन्दरं नखद्युति सुधाकरम् अमूल्यरत्नभूषणं नमामि नन्दनन्दनम्. It says that he has Tribanga Deha Sundaram. His body is beautiful, but it has threefold bending form. It's not straight, right? Krishna's posture is not straight. Krishna's dealings with devotees are not predictable. Anytime he can do anything, it's not straight. It's very crooked, right? So in every aspect, Krishna, he likes crookedness and he's crooked, except in one aspect. Krishna does not like and does not tolerate crookedness in the nature, in the heart of a sadhaka who is approaching him. That Krishna can never accept, right? Whenever, like there is no question of attaining prema for a sadhaka who has crookedness in his heart, right? Now, what do we mean by crookedness in the heart? Right? It means like we are trying to cheat the Lord for some personal gain, or for some to justify some anartha or to fulfill some motives that we might have. We approach Krishna, we disguise ourselves as devotees, we tell Krishna, Krishna, I love you, but in our heart, we have anarthas which we are not acknowledging, which we are not paying attention to. That is a crooked heart, right? And because of this crooked heart, slowly we lose we lose faith in the holy name, we lose faith in Guru, we lose faith in Vaishnavas, we lose faith in everything, right? Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he said, Nake tilaka gale mala eita kali chela. He says that in Kali Yuga, Kali does not come as very ghastly, fearful form, as we see in the first canto that Parikshit Maharaj encountered. Kali is not like that in Kali Yuga. In Kali Purusha, it is disguised as Nake Tilaka Gale Mala, right? It has Tilaka on the forehead and Kanti Mala on the throat and Dhoti Kurta and nice, everything is nice, but it is actually, they are all servants of Kali Yuga. They pretend to be servants of the Lord, but in disguise, they are servants of Kali, like very staunch, strict servants of Kali Yuga, right? So this is the reality of, most of us, especially people like me, right? And when we have these crooked tendencies, this crooked nature, um, it's not possible to approach Krishna in this way, right? Krishna knows our heart. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a beautiful pastime of King Nriga. Once the children of Krishna, Samba and all the other children in Dwaraka, they were playing and they got thirsty. So they went to a well. The well was dry, there was no water, but there was a huge lizard in that well, on the wall of the well. And this lizard was as huge as a hill, as a mountain. So Samba and all the children, they thought, okay, wow, this is such a nice lizard. Maybe we should keep it as a pet. And they tried to take it out of the well. They tried to pick it up. Nothing worked. Then they went back home and they called their father. Krishna, please come. There's this, lizard. We want to use it as a pet. You please come and help us. Krishna went. He just placed his left hand and he touched the lizard with his left hand. Immediately, the lizard vanished and a demigod appeared. Right? And Krishna said, "Who are you? Why have you come here?" Then the demigod offered prayers and he spoke that in my previous life, I was a king by the name King Nriga. And I used to give a lot of charity. All my life, I gave charity. Right? I did so many pious activities. Once what happened, I gave a cow to a brahmana. The brahmana took the cow and went home, but because the cow was used, so it stayed for very long in my palace, in my goshala. That cow in the night escaped and he ran back to my goshala. Right? Then I didn't realize that I have lakhs of cows. Next day I gave this cow to another brahmana, and that brahmana took. And then finally both the brahmanas had a conflict. They could not resolve. They came to me that, king, you gave the same cow to two of us. So, King Riga said, I'm extremely sorry. I didn't realize this happened. If you want, I can give each one of you 1 lakh cows as compensation for my offense, but you please forgive me. Brahmana said, not 1 lakh cows. I want this one cow that you gave me. Both Brahmanas said. Finally, it went unresolved. The Brahmanas also let go of the cow. They were like, fine, we are detached. We don't want it. But they did not forgive also. It just went. Then King Riga left his body. Yamaraj came. And Yamaraj said, you have a lot of pious activities and one sin. So tell me, do you want to enjoy for all those pious activities or suffer that for that one sin? Now, King Riga, like any of us would have done, he thought, when I want to enjoy, I don't want disturbance that your future I'm going to suffer. I don't want that. I want to enjoy freely. So I thought, fine, let's get rid of this suffering first. So Yamaraj said, you will be born in the body of a mountain lizard in a dry well. But the greatest benediction is you will see Krishna face to face. And then you can start enjoying the benedictions of all the good activities you've done, right? So then he narrates this pastime and then he offers praise to Krishna and he goes back to the heavenly abode. But in all of this, the externally it appears the sin that King Nriga did was that unknowingly he gave this cow to two brahmanas. But Acharyas explained the real problem was King Nriga's mindset. King Nriga thought that sitting in a one place and just chanting Hare Krishna, Govinda, Mukunda, just chanting, singing, and all, so useless. No point, no contribution to the society. Instead, let's give charity. It will create tangible difference. It will save livelihoods of pious souls, right? Let's give charity. That is far better than sitting in a place, not doing anything, and just chanting Harinam. How can that be better, right? How can chanting be enough? So, because of this offensive mentality, he underwent all those sufferings, right? But because he served Vaishnavas, he got darshan of the Lord as well. And even then, he didn't get liberated. He just went to the heavenly kingdoms and all, right? So, because of his strong tendencies. Now, this is this is what crooked nature means, right? We approach the Lord, but we have our perceptions, right? How can holy name be enough? How can Bhagavatam be non-different from Krishna? It's a book. I see a book. Why should I worship a book as Krishna? Why should I worship a stone as Krishna? Why should I worship a water as Krishna, Shamkund? Why should I do that? Right? We have these. We are not able to accept these realities because of our crooked nature, and because of that, we fall down. Right? Jiva Goswami explains, just like Rupa Goswami said, 9 steps in progressing in bhakti. Jiva Goswami says there are 5 symptoms in falling down in bhakti, right? And 5 symptoms are, first symptom is that Kautilyam. Kautilyam means crooked nature, crookedness in the heart, right? Crookedness with the Lord, crookedness with devotees, and all of that, right? We have very wrong dealings, very manipulative dealings with Krishna, Guru, Vaishnavas, right? That is the first symptom of fall down. Second symptom is Ashraddha, lack of faith, lack of faith in Shastra, lack of faith in anything, right? And even if somebody explains, we can't understand. Right? How a sadhu sitting in one place and chanting Harinam is far more glorious and powerful than those sadhus who have attained siddhis by doing Ashtanga Yoga and severe tapasyas and all of that by giving charities. In Kumbh Mela, all of these sadhus come and they perform they show their mystic powers. But much glorious than all of them is a is a pure devotee who chants the holy name utters the holy name of the Lord, right? This is very difficult to understand. One side austerities, yajnas, Ashwamedha yajnas, that has to be greater, no? why bhakti is greater? That is because when Shastras say that somebody who chants the holy name is more glorious, it implies that somebody who chants the holy name with love. Love is the secret ingredient, prema, right? It's like if we have fasted on an Ekadashi and we on a Dwadashi day, we are given like huge quantities, huge amounts of chips and popcorn and all of that, all right? Or we are given one small plate of a thali of prashadam, which has some rice, some paisam, some rasam, some sambar, some curry, and all of that, right? Tomorrow we are cooking seva, right? So if that one thali is given, or huge truckloads and mountains of popcorns and chips are given, which one will we pick, right? We'll go for that one small thali which has all these prashadam, right? Why? Because this is what we need, right? We are not choosing the first option because it is more in quantity, but we are choosing the second option because it is what we want. Similarly, with Krishna, even if somebody performs immense amount of tapasya and austerities and all of that, Krishna does not choose that because he doesn't want that quantity. Even if the quantity is little, if Krishna has what he wants, prema, then he picks that. He chooses that. He gives far more weightage and importance to that. That is why somebody who chants with love is much more glorious. But a person who has Kautilyam, crooked heart, he loses faith, ashraddha, second symptom. He can't understand that. Third symptom is over a period of time, he starts again getting attracted to all those things that makes him fall down in bhakti, right? And we might have observed this. Initially, when we become Krishna conscious, we are so detached. We tell people, our relatives and all that, you know what? This world is dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This material world is a very bad place. We should not stay here. We should go back to Godhead. We tell all of that. But after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of sadhana, we think, oh, this material world is not such a bad place after all. Eventually it is a part of Lord's creation, right? So it's okay. It's okay to do this one thing. Anyway, I'm doing sadhana. This one thing I can do, right? In that way, we get back to our old tendencies. We start in a subtle way, we start falling down and getting attached to these things, which will make us fall down in bhakti. Fourth symptom, bhakti shaitiyam, right? Shaitilyam, bhakti shaitilyam. What this means is gradual slackening of bhakti. One day we miss our chanting, 2 days we miss our chanting, then we miss our chanting for months together before we realize we stop associating with devotees, we reject our guru, everything goes. Bhakti slackens, right? That is Bhakti Shaitalyam. Finally, the fifth stage of fall down is Swabhakti Adi Kirtamaniyanam, right? Which basically means that whatever little bit of bhakti they are doing, everything is lost, it's gone. But little bit of bhakti that we do also, we get pride in it. Kirtaniyanam, like we want to glorify ourselves. We say, oh, I am the reason this happened, right? We boast about it. And as it is said, pride cometh before the fall. That is the last stage of downfall, right? Once that comes, it's over, no turning back. So these are the five symptoms of a fall down of a sadhaka. And all of us in different stages of our sadhana bhakti, we experience these fall downs. As we discussed, our path to prema is not a straight path. We keep experiencing fall downs. And the first symptom of falling down is Kautilyam. Right? Jiva Goswami says, crookedness in the heart. In the material world, crooked nature is required. Right? Chanakya Panditi says, the trees that are standing straight are the ones that get cut first, right? Trees that are crooked, they don't get cut, but the ones that are straight, it's easy to mend them and make furniture out of them. So the trees that are straight are the ones cut first, which means if you are straight natured in your dealings and all of that in the material world, people will take you for a ride. So you should have crooked nature in the material world, right? And to some extent all of us who are existing in this material world, we exhibit these tendencies of crookedness, right? Once there was a man and a woman, both of them were 70 years old. A genie appeared and said, whatever you want, I'll fulfill your desire. The woman said, no, I have everything I wanted in life. I'm okay, I'm satisfied, I don't want anything. And the genie asked the man, do you want anything? Man said, actually, yes, I want something. I want my wife to be 20 years younger than me so that I can enjoy her. Genie said, okay, fine. He, he clicked, and then there was puff of smoke. And then the man thought, okay, he was very happy. He looked at his wife. His wife was same, 70 years old. Like, what happened? She did not become younger. Then he looked at himself. He had become 90 years old, right? So then he said, Genie, this is cheating. What is this? Genie said, you said your wife should be 20 years younger than you. That has happened. You are 90, she's 70, right? So I fulfilled your desire. I gave what you asked for, right? And so this is how we try to, manipulate in this material world to fulfill our tendencies of enjoyment, to get what we want. Comfortably, we try to take things that are convenient for us and reject things that don't support our anarthas, right? Once there was a man, he was very desperate. He didn't have anything. He was very hungry. Then he went to a stage where he could beg, borrow, and steal. So he went to another man's place and he stole, food and all that from his property. And he was caught. And this man tried to escape and ran into the jungle. And he was hiding in the jungle. There he saw there was an old wolf, a jackal, right? This jackal had two legs, handicapped. Two other legs weren't there. Then, to the surprise of this man, a lion came with meat in its mouth, and it gave the meat to the jackal, and it went off. And this man thought, oh my God, this is such a revelation for me. This is an eye opener for me, right? Why? Because if for a jackal, handicapped jackal that is so deep in the jungle, no connection from the outside world, Krishna is arranging food for this jackal. That means Krishna will take care of me also. I don't have to do anything, right? So I thought, okay, I don't have to endeavor, I don't have to steal, nothing I have to do. I can just sit and Krishna will take care. So he sat there and he fasted. After 4 or 5 days, he was almost going to die. When sage was passing from there, he saw this man. Said, "Hey, what happened?" Said, "No, I'm waiting for Krishna to give me food." Said, "Hey, you first come with me." He took him to the ashram, fed him nicely, and he asked him, "Tell me what happened." This man said, "I saw this jackal and the lion, and I learnt from the jackal that you don't have to do anything. Krishna will arrange everything for you." Then the sage said, "Foolish man, why don't you learn? Why don't you think that Krishna wanted to teach you the lesson of the lion, not the jackal, right? Jackal was handicapped. You have all your hands and legs properly. Why couldn't you learn from the lion that you have to utilize your senses, your body to serve others, to serve the society, to be useful to others? Why couldn't you learn from that? Why did you learn from jackal only, right?" So in this way, if you want to be lazy, we will find philosophy, we will find the right mindset, we'll find everything to justify our anarthas, to justify our shortcomings, to justify our mistakes, right? Many people, they say, bhakti is an internal thing, it need not be exhibited, no need of these service and all, right? And chanting every day, why do that? Ajamila chanted once, he went back to the Lord. Draupadi chanted once, she got protected by the Lord. Why chant every day 16 rounds like this? All this I don't believe in, right? But they fail to realize that the same Ajamila, when he was in his deathbed, he saw Vishnudutas and Yamadutas. After they both departed, Ajamila got renounced his family life at the age of 88. He walked to Haridwar, to the banks of Ganga. For 12 years, he stayed there every day, taking bath in Ganga and chanting Harinam throughout. Every breath he took, he chanted the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. He took shelter of holy name because he thought, by mistake, if I chanted Narayana once and these, Vishnu Dutas came and protected me, then if I give my entire time to chanting this holy name, how much more benefit I get. He did that, and finally, second time when he was on his deathbed, only the Vishnu Dutas came. Yamadutas did not come, and he sat on a golden airplane, Pushpak Viman, and he went back to Vaikunta. Right, but we don't want that part of the story. We want the first part. Chanted once and he went back. I will also do that. Enjoy my life. In the end, I will chant. I will go back. Right. This is the tendencies. I had, one of my office colleague. He was like, this Ramachandra, your Ram, Lord Ram that you worship, such a bad person, such a bad man. He abandoned his wife when she was pregnant. So what person does that? That's why couples should not worship Sita Ram. They should worship Shiva Parvati. Then they'll stay together. This person is very bad. Then I was trying to explain to him, no, no, wait. The same scripture that tells that Lord Ram renounced Mother Sita, he abandoned her, it also gives logical reasons, karmic reasons. It gives other incidents where Ram and Mother Sita separately they were cursed to be separate, and then it gives societal reasons. It gives so many reasons and justifications which helps us understand why this event happened. And the biggest reason is they're eternal consorts. They are never separated. Externally, for the Leela, it happens like that. So I was trying to explain all of this. He was like, hey, don't justify all of that. I don't want all that. I just know that this Ram is a bad person and he's not worth worshipping. Right? Don't tell me all this. Right? So these people are able to have faith, in the fact that, Lord Ram is a person, he existed and he left his wife. That they are able to accept from the Shastras. But the other part which glorifies Lord Ram, they don't want to take that, right? Because they want to get an excuse for not rendering service to the Lord. And this is how they do that. So this is the crooked nature, right? This is the shortcomings. Instead of, see, if somebody loves us, and we have two scenarios. First scenario, and this person who's loving us, they fail to love us, they lose their love, they get deviated, and all of that happens. Now, two things can happen. In the first scenario, they can come to us, and they can, with a crooked nature, they can try to hide their lack of love for us, and they can say that I'm doing my whatever best I can, what else do you expect, this can't be possible, and they fight with us and they justify their actions. That is first response. Second response is they come to us, they sit with us, they share their heart, they acknowledge their anarthas, they cry miserably, and they say, I need your help. This is a relationship, two of us are here, I need your help to please help me overcome the anarthas, right? How will our response be in these two scenarios, right? The first scenario, we will reject that person. Fine, you go wherever you want. In the second scenario, we'll sit with that person and we'll genuinely try to help him out, help that person out, overcome those anarthas, right? Same is the case with the Lord, right? Cheating, this crooked nature, is a tendency of a living conditioned soul, right? In this material world. Bhagavad Gita says there are four uh, qualities of a conditioned soul, four defects of a conditioned soul. First one is committing mistakes. Second one is being illusioned. Third one is having imperfect senses. And the fourth is tendency to cheat. Krishna can tolerate three of these four, shortcomings, four defects. But the fourth one, Krishna never tolerates. Tendency to cheat, which is there in us, but Krishna does not like that. He cannot tolerate that. And how Krishna deals with crooked nature, we can see in Mahabharata. Mahabharata, Lord Krishna was invited as the Shanti Dut, right? He was sent as the peace messenger to stop the war. Krishna went to Hastinapur. He asked Duryodhan, give me five villages. That's all. That's all I need for Pandavas. Duryodhan said, that also I won't give. Krishna knew Duryodhan's heart. Krishna knew Duryodhan was a crooked person. He will never give anything. And he wanted to show to the world that he won't. So he asked, and Duryodhan did not give. Then after that, in the evening, Duryodhan said, Krishna, I have arranged a huge feast for you in the palace of Hastinapur. You please come and you honor Prashadam, right? You are our guest. You are a diplomat. You please come. We'll serve you, right? When Duryodhan, invited Krishna for dinner, this is what Krishna said. He said, Sampripti bhojani annani apat bhojyani vapuna nacha sampriyase rajan nacha vaipad gata vayam. He says, Sampriti bhojani annani. He says, there are two circumstances in which a person should accept food, should accept prashadam in another person's house. Two circumstances. First one, sampriti, when there is loving, cordial relationship between the host and the guest. In such case, you can accept prashadam. Second circumstances, apad, when there is an emergency situation, then we can accept prashadam in anybody's house, right? And Krishna says, nacha sampriyase rajan. In our case, Duryodhan, there is no love. Krishna tells Duryodhan, you have no love to me, and nacha vai apad gati. And there is no emergency also. I don't have any emergency also. So I am sorry, I cannot accept prashadam in your house. And Krishna walked out. He did not accept. And then he went and accepted it where? In the house of a Shudra, in the house of the son of a maidservant, Vidura. Why? Because the first of these two conditions was met. There was sampriti, there was love. And Vidura's wife was offering peel of banana and throwing away the banana. Krishna was relishing that because there was love. Right? So this is how Krishna, he deals with crooked people having crooked heart, crooked nature. And similarly, in our life as well, if somebody is crookedly dealing with us, we don't have to do anything to them. We don't even have to think about them. Krishna already has started dealing with them in a way, right? That's not very ideal, right? So by reacting to that, we also become part of the downfall, right? So just by having faith that okay, Krishna realizes he's seated in everybody's heart, he knows who is crooked and who is genuine, and I just need to focus all my mind, my energy, my efforts in trying to be simple. If we're able to do that, then we can overcome these shortfalls, right? So this is Lord's mentality. He clearly told Duryodhan, you don't love me. Similarly, with us also, Krishna can clearly understand you don't love me. This person doesn't love me. He might wear dhoti kurta, he might sit in every Saturday morning and give Bhagavatam classes like this, but he doesn't love me. He has no love for me in his heart, right? He doesn't act for me. He doesn't work for my pleasure. Krishna knows that, right? So then, what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to overcome? The only way where, and when we have this crooked nature, then Krishna decides this person has to stop progressing in bhakti. He needs to take a break. He needs to pause, and when voluntarily he comes back, he works on his crooked nature, then he can continue his bhakti. So Krishna stops the progress of bhakti for such a sadhaka, right? It's very simple for us also to understand, right? If somebody who's loving us, they cheated us, we have two options. Either we can forcefully make them correct their mistake, or we can give them space and allow them to realize their mistake and voluntarily come back to us, right? Naturally we would choose the second option, right? Similarly, Krishna also has every ability in the world to forcefully change us and make us into his loving servants, but Krishna doesn't want that. He relinquishes that soul. He says, fine, I'm giving you up, I'm leaving you, and I'm ensuring you pause your progress in bhakti until you realize your mistake and you correct your tendencies, you correct your crooked heart, and then when you come back to me, I'll accept you, I'll forgive you, and I'll accept you, right? So then, we focus on the mind. Now, if you have to focus on the heart, how do we overcome these crooked nature? And the only way to do that is by performing devotional service, by executing devotional service under the guidance of those devotees who have a simple heart, who have a simple nature, who are practicing Krishna consciousness in a simple nature. Because in their association, our faith in simplicity gets stronger, right? We see how in a very simple manner they are able to attract Krishna's mercy in their life. They are so empowered to give Krishna's mercy to others just by leading a very simple life, right? um, I still remember during my college days, I was a young boy, very attracted to flashy things, bikes, cars, watches, and I want this, I want that, all of those things, right? Typically, like any young man, college going man, all of those things. That's how we had grown up as well. But then I saw devotees like, Shiva's Prabhu, very simple dhoti, kurta, software engineer working with 20 years experience, very simple attire, very simple analog clock with a diary in his hand and a pen where he used to write what engagements he has of Krishna consciousness for the next 1 week, take care of temple. So very simple thing. And I found like how charming simplicity can be, right? Similarly, other devotees as well, Bandhu Madhav Prabhu and so many other Vaishnavas in this forum as well, right? When I personally look at them, I get inspired to be simple. I get attracted to that simplicity. Even though I have a contaminated heart, which is attracted to flashy things, sometimes simplicity is very attractive. And we see that over the decades, these people who adopted simple life, through the greatest joys of their life and the greatest, most unexpected reversals of their life, they have remained steady in Krishna consciousness. Their bhakti has never faltered. Their commitment and enthusiasm in serving the Lord and preaching his message and distributing his mercy has never gone down for devotees who have a simple nature. And when we see this first hand experience of this, then our faith in simplicity also increases. When we just deal with crooked people in the outside world, we feel, oh, it's better I don't engage in all this, right? I also need to be crooked, otherwise I'll be taken for a ride. We need to practice bhakti in the shelter of such Vaishnavas. And going back to the chapter, Vena, one lesson we can learn from Vena is Vena was extremely crooked. A king is a caretaker of the uh, citizens, right? A king is a representative of Krishna. A king is supposed to take care of the citizens on behalf of Krishna. But if the king thinks, I am God, I am the supreme Lord, then that is his crooked nature. And because of that crooked nature, all the anarthas manifested and he fell down and he got destroyed. And in our path towards Krishna Prema, if we want to ensure that we have minimal fall downs, if we want to ensure that our path towards prema is not extremely crooked, that we get deviated for lifetimes together, and we are smoothly progressing towards Krishna, one aspect we have to be very careful about is monitoring our heart along with our mind, ensuring that we are cultivating our heart to have good Vaishnava qualities and not develop, abhadras like Kautilyam, like crookedness. Right. So with this, I will stop here. Thanks a lot to all the devotees for patiently hearing me out. And I feel like a hypocrite talking about simplicity in to the assembly of this Vaishnavas. So please forgive me for all my offenses, any mistakes I would have committed in this discharge of service, and please bless so that I can also develop this simplicity in the association of all of you. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much for the wonderful session. Your sessions are always simply wonderful with a lot of knowledge and a lot of practical aspects of bhakti, like how we can improve our love or prema towards Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. So anybody has any questions? I know it is too late, but if someone is having any questions, we can take one or two.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you Prabhuji for the wonderful session, and whenever we hear your session we get very different realizations. Like story of like Maharaj, I always used to think that why he was donating and he was doing such a good thing, and then why he got this this curse. So that realization also, it is new for me Prabhuji, and I never understand the different aspect which you have mentioned, and all the
Yeah.
other points also, like how we can purify our intelligence and mind, and by devotees association we can purify our ego, is really helpful Prabhuji. Thank you so much for all these learnings. Prabhu, I have
Thank you,
one
Mataji.
small question Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Like we always read in scriptures that it is important to make the son of the king as the son only. Like if King Anga, he had a bad son, Vena,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
still he has to be the king only. But
Yeah.
on the contrary, we also read that we are qualified not according to birth but by karmas. So, do
Correct.
we have some examples in the scriptures where king's son was not qualified and then then somebody was given the throne? If some examples are there in the
Yeah,
scriptures,
Mataji.
please share.
If I'm not wrong, I think there's an example of Bharat Maharaj as well. His son was extremely unqualified. So Bharat Maharaj sort of killed his son, and then he went to and he throned somebody else as the king, somebody else qualified. Then he went to the forest and he renounced, right? And if I'm not wrong, it's the same Bharat Maharaj that we see in Bhagavatam. And it could be another Bharat as well, but I know there is a Bharat Maharaj who's glorified for the fact that he killed his own son because he was not qualified. And if such a son comes to the throne, it is a very wrong thing, right? Because for a king, for anybody, for each of us, we have different dharmas. But for a king, the highest dharma is Raja Dharma. More than the duty as a son, duty as a husband, duty as a king, duty as a citizen, more than any of these, duty of being a king is the topmost, right? So for such people, all the other lower dharmas they have to renounce. That is why when Dhritarashtra got Duryodhan as a child, Vyasadev came and all the sages came and they told him, he might be your son, but he's very inauspicious omens, and you should kill him. Otherwise, he'll be the cause of destruction of your entire dynasty. But out of attachment, out of putra dharma, out of attachment towards his son, Dhritarashtra was not able to do what somebody like Bharat Maharaj could do, right? And that is why we see what was the outcome. Even Ramachandra, right? One of the reasons why he left Mother Sita was that his duty as a king, what message he gives to the kingdom as a king, was far more superior than his duty as a husband. And although it was extremely difficult, that personality who waged an entire war to get his wife back, he very easily just dropped her in Valmiki Muni's ashram through Lakshman because his Rajadharma was more important, right? And as a, it might, how we can relate to that is if we see in today's current context, you have a prime minister, for example, a leader of the stature of, let's say, Narendra Modi, somebody who's very, very pious, very sattvic, right? He has given up his family, he has given up his wife, he has given up his mother. He's complete 18 hours a day he works for the country, 3 4 hours only he sleeps. So somebody who's like that, a leader, that kind of a leader, and another kind of a leader who's completely into sense gratification, uncontrolled senses, does completely attached to family life, right? And very sinful. So if we have these two leaders, and if we have a choice, what sort of a leader we would pick? to rule all of us, to guide us, we would obviously naturally pick a leader who sort of the first category, right? Who puts Rajadharma above anything else, right? So it's very important for a king to put Rajadharma above. And there are multiple examples in the Shastras. Bharat Maharaj is just one of them. But on the other hand, to your question of if Vena was a bad son or a bad king, why was he enthroned in the first place, right? Didn't the sadhus know? Didn't they know enough that qualification comes from qualities and all that, and not by birth, right? Now there, the thing is, Vena, not just with Vena, even after Vena was dead, the sages were still hell bent on continuing the lineage of Vena only, right? From Vena's body, something Abhadra only could have come. Another sinful person would have come. But they're still investing faith in Vena because Bhagavatam says that the semen that flows in this lineage is extremely potent and powerful. It has given birth to great personalities who have been extremely pure and righteous, and there have been wonderful kings as well. And it is in their blood, it runs in their blood to rule, to administer. And Vena also, no matter how bad he might have been, he saw Anga Maharaj in a very close capacity all through his life. So the sadhus thought, this person is a cruel man, very bad intention fellow, but he has the capacity to administer. He has the capacity to rule. He has first-hand experience of how to rule, what to do, and all, because he has seen his father all his life, compared to somebody new who will just come up and they have no experience, right? So that's how they took a gamble. They placed the faith in Vena, but the moment they saw it is not working out, they replaced him and they took him out, right? So does that answer your question, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, it helps a lot. So, other than Bharat Maharaj, can you give me, Prabhu, one more example, Prabhuji?
Of
If
somebody who
yes,
their own
so
son?
yes, not yeah. The king was like the some example of a king who was not who did not accept his son as a king because he was not qualified.
Yeah, I'm not able to think of it right at the top of my mind. If anybody else is able to think of any example, please feel free to share. Otherwise, I can check and get back to you as well, Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. That will be helpful, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah. Okay. I guess we're good then.
Yeah. So again, thanking Shankapani Prabhu for the wonderful class, for taking out time from his ever busy schedule. But Prabhu being modest, and we all know like Prabhu doesn't require a separate preparation to give a class. Prabhu is like a walking Bhagavatam where he can take class on any topic very nicely, and everybody is always eager to hear him. So we all want to thank Shankpani Prabhu. So I would request everyone to chant once Hare Krishna mantra for Prabhu's progress and for his whole family. In fact, they are so simple. Actually, Prabhu told he's crooked. He's not part of this simple mindedness, but I can vouch his whole family is so simple-hearted, and Prabhu is being modest in his talk when he says that. So I would request everyone to chant one time Hare Krishna mantra.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Hare,
Hare Hare.
श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, शिल प्रभुपाद
Jai,
की जय।
Ki
वंदे
Jai,
कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च
Jai.
पतितानां
Vachapatitanam
पावनेभ्यो
pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo
वैष्णवेभ्यो
namo
Namo
namaha.
Namaha.
अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की
Jai.
Jai.
कृष्ण। थैंक यू एवरीवन।
Krishna Prabhu